What's going on, YouTube? JT is reborn here, and happy New Year. We are now into 2023, so this is the first video. It's January 2nd. I'm currently in my theater parking lot. I just got out of seeing The Whale, directed by Darren Aronofsky, and starring the one and only Brendan Fraser. So, man, that was kind of a very depressing movie to sit through. It's kind of what I was expecting. Brendan Fraser, of course, plays a man named Charlie, a man who is suffering from severe obesity, and he basically only has like 5 days left to live, and he's trying to get his life in order, and he's got his daughter, played by Sadie Sink, and he's got his friend Liz, played by Hong Chow, and then there's a kind of missionary person who comes in, played by Ty Simpkins, and the whole movie is pretty much set inside of Charlie's apartment complex. And he's a recluse, he feels regret, and for all of his decisions he's made, due to a severely traumatic experience he had in his past, which led to him overeating and binge eating to where he becomes a 600-pound man. He teaches English, and it's, Darren Aronofsky, man, that guy is a very talented filmmaker, and he does know how to make some good character pieces. I'll give him that. My experience with The Whale, I know that this is a movie based on a stage play, and you can really tell that because the entire movie pretty much just takes place inside of this apartment, and it is a depressing movie, and there are bits of humor and levity sprinkled in throughout it, but it is primarily a very kind of sad, kind of hard movie to watch through. But I did enjoy it overall. So let's get the first thing out of the way. Brendan Fraser is fantastic in this movie. He is extremely good in this thing. Now, I'm somebody who doesn't really care too much about the Academy Awards or Oscars or anything, but I am here for the Renaissance. I've been a Brendan Fraser fan as long as I can remember. I've always liked the guy. I've always supported him in things when I can see him. You show Brendan Fraser in something, I'm generally going to go and watch it. Excuse me. He is incredible. This is some of the best work he's ever done. He will have you bawling your eyes out by the end of the movie, or at least get you kind of choked up emotional. Fraser is so good in this type of role because he can do the emotions very well. He'll have you crying one scene, he'll have you laughing in the other, he'll have you feeling sympathetic, but also you can see the other characters have some sort of resentment. You have other characters who have been kind of enabling his behavior. It is a hard movie to watch because this man he's dying. He's basically eaten himself he's overeaten to death. He doesn't have much time to live. He doesn't want to go to the hospital. He doesn't want to do all these things. And his daughter resents him for something that he did in his past, which they do. That's one of the issues I do have with the movie is her character. At first, you kind of understand the sympathetic angle because her father, Charlie, I won't get too into spoilers, had left her at a young age. And the issue, they try to craft sympathy in that regards, but they make her so mean, cutthroat, and almost like unredeemable, even by kind of the end of the movie. And it was kind of one of those points where you're not sure if you should fully, at one hand, you do understand a kid feeling sympathy for a kid, but at some point, you got to add more to her rather than just cold-hearted bitch throughout the movie, because my God, she is insufferable to sit through in this movie. I'm just kind of waiting for that moment because I've seen character arcs where they kind of go through it at the very end of the movie, but even by the end of this thing, you don't really get that moment where things kind of turn around for her. And even the ending of this movie, it does get into a little bit kind of that pretentious bits that some of these types of A24 movies tend to get at times, to the point where I'm like, what? What even happened at the end of the movie? I did kind of snicker in some ways at the very, very end of it, because I'm just like, wait, what? But the emotional scenes where Fraser really has to showcase his acting performance, and you really feel it. It is hard to watch because you just see him just slowly dying over the course of 2 hours, and at 2 hours, it is a hard movie to sit through in that regards, but Fraser in every scene is just so captivating in what he does. Like I said, 1 minute he can have you busting out laughing. He can add levity to the scene when it requires it, but he can also just have you just leaving with really no dry eyes left in the theater, because he'll have you kind of bawling your eyes out. He is so good in this movie, and like I said, he's really good. His daughter, on the other hand, is really kind of hard to that's one of the issues I have with the movie. It's they try to craft a bit of a sympathetic story for her, and to an extent why she resents her father, and you understand her reasons. but they just make her so cold, and there's really hardly any time for her to kind of have that change of pace like Charlie has. And I understand, because like he's trying everything he can, and because he made a lot of mistakes, and he understands that. He understands what he's done, and he understands how and why his daughter resents him, but he's willing to kind of just do all he can to kind of make things right as best he can, because he needs to know that he did one thing right in his life. And so I really like that. And then you had his other friend who was pretty good too. She was basically a nurse who takes care of him, although she is a problem in his life because she continues to enable this very unhealthy habit. So I don't know how everyone's going to take this movie. I know some people are like, I think everyone agrees Brendan Fraser is really, really good in this thing. At least the people I've talked to have seen it. Like, yeah, he's sensational, and I do hope he wins Best Actor and all that. All the Brendan Fraser love in this video. Like I said, Fraser is fantastic. He's always been a really talented actor, and it's a shame that he kind of got sidelined for so many years, but now he's kind of back doing more stuff. I mean, he never really fully went away. He was, I think but like in a big time role, like in an Aronofsky picture like this, he is really, really good. And I think if he had a lesser actor in this type of role, this movie wouldn't fully work. But because they casted Brendan in this movie, I think that's what carries the film. This is a movie you really go see for the performance of the lead actor. Kind of like a Joaquin Phoenix in Joker. What was it, 2019 when that came out? Like an actor who's so captivating that it kind of engulfs you in the entire movie. Fraser is that in The Whale. Like I said, the only issue I really have is just the characterization of his daughter, because I think they made her just so unlikable. And maybe there is kind of fragments of good within her, but they just made her just insufferable in pretty much every scene in this movie. And again, I get it, where she's coming from and the resentment towards her father. But if you're trying to craft a bit of a sympathetic backstory, you got to add a little bit more to her, I feel like, because this, or at least give her time to really kind of overcome that change a little bit and showcase more of her heart that's within her. And you kind of get a fraction of that at the end of the movie, but it's also just the thing she says to literally everyone, even people who aren't really deserving of it. Like, she is just extremely unlikable throughout the course of this movie. And like I said, I was waiting for that moment where they can kind of change, because like, okay, you start out a character like this way, and then by the end they're supposed to have this sort of arc and change things up a while. Well, you don't really fully get that, because the movie kind of cuts off a bit at the end before we really kind of see this change of pace. And you get fragments of it, but it's not fully there, and I don't think they quite delivered it. There are some scenes where they try to have it like this really big, intense, make it come across. I don't know what the intention was, but some bits do come across a bit as unintentionally funny. And there's people kind of snickering in the theater. Like one scene, for example, after some dramatic thing happens, he goes and just binge eats. And it's supposed to be an intense, serious scene, but the way they kind of direct it and the way it's kind of showcased there, some people may find it unintentionally funny. I know my theater kind of did. I'm just like, okay, this is just, I know it's supposed to be a serious scene, but the way it's just being done, it just, I don't know, maybe some people get a chuckle out of it. But this is a movie that does tackle something that is not really talked about so much like in today's day and age, and that is obesity, which is a severe health concern. And I do have sympathy for a lot of people who have it, because I know people who have obesity, and it is a struggle. And I'm glad there's a film like this that's out there to kind of highlight that struggle, and maybe people can get the necessary help that they need to overcome that, and perhaps change their diet and, you know, exercise and do whatever they can to live a more healthy lifestyle. But I'm glad that this movie is out there to kind of showcase that, because it's not something that's tackled all that often in movies. I can't remember the last movie I've seen that kind of tackled the obesity issue. And again, he is pretty much at the end of his life here, but maybe it can serve as a cautionary tale, because it does become hard to watch, and you do feel really sympathetic to an extent, seeing what he has to go through. Even something as much as dropping a key or dropping his phone, just picking up, just the leaps and hurdles he has to kind of go through to just do a simple task. And like that is pretty hard to watch, and Fraser plays that struggle quite well. So yeah, I am recommending The Whale. I did enjoy it enough. Do I think it's mind-blowing, amazing, or anything like that? I don't think so. I don't think this is like a masterpiece or anything like that. It is a movie you want to see for the performance, and I think Brendan Fraser gives a really, really strong performance. Is it my favorite Fraser performance? It depends on what you're looking for. Dramatic performance, absolutely, without question. And But I don't know, like, because like I like some of Fraser's more upbeat action comedic performances. Love him in The Mummy, George of the Jungle. Bedazzled, I think, is one of the most underrated comedies of all time, the way he's able to portray all these different characters. But here, like, he plays the sympathy so well. I don't know, maybe it's just his big puppy dog eyes or whatever it is, but Fraser, he's so good at making you able to kind of like him in any type of role. And it's definitely showcased here. So Brendan Fraser, fantastic. There are good performances throughout the movie, and there are some heavy emotional scenes. There are times where it gets a little unintentionally funny, maybe a little bit pretentious at times, and yeah, you can tell that this is based on a play because some of it does drag at certain points within the film. And I do think his daughter was just so insufferable throughout the movie, and I was just kind of waiting for that turn, but it doesn't really fully happen. Like I said, you get fragments of it, but it's not fully even there by the end of the movie, and I think if you wanted me to get behind this character, you need to do a little bit more work leading up to the ending, because it's just like, she is just like a knife. And one thing I do, maybe that's kind of the message in the movie, because it does talk a little bit about honesty, and instead of just sugarcoating things and just kind of cutting right to the point, because a lot of these characters, they do cut straight to the point. There's none of this big, oh, it's going to be okay, or anything. Like, no, these people are just like, they're brutally honest about their thoughts in it, and it just kind of makes the emotions feel more raw. But at the same time, it's just, characterization of his daughter is a bit questionable at times, because it's just, she's such a bitch. And it is kind of hard to get behind her, even though you can understand the sympathy for her story in that. So, yeah. But anyways, I did like The Whale. I don't think it's going to be for everybody. If you want like a slow burn, dramatic tale with a phenomenal Brendan Fraser performance, I definitely recommend you check it out. Like I said, you will get a bit teary-eyed towards the end of this thing because of Fraser and how good he is in this movie. And you may find something else with it by the end of it. Is it the strongest Aronofsky picture? I don't think so, but it is a solid one. And yeah, also another thing I had issues with, I don't know if it was just my theater, but the sound, like, I don't know, like, it was like one of the speakers was kind of blown out a bit. It just has like this annoying buzz sound throughout like the entire runtime of the movie. And it was just kind of like distracting. At times it would kind of go away, but it was just like, it was just kind of annoying me throughout it. But maybe that's just me. I don't know if any other person had that issue. But yeah, so anyways, those are my quick thoughts on The Whale. Like I said, watch it for Brendan Fraser. He is fantastic in it. And I do hope he wins Best Actor. So there you go. That's the first review of 2023. Hard to believe we're already in this year, but got a lot of things planned for a lot of big things planned for the channel. My phone is ringing as I am talking about this. Of course it is. But anyways, God, that sucks. But anyways, so that's going to wrap it up for this video. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then. I will see you all in the next video. Go check out The Whale. Peace out. Happy New Year.